Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, YouTube streaming, and also via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming from our studios in Trinidad. Sutras of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. This is a question answer session. Does an awakened one feels pain and suffers? Does an awakened one feels pain, physical and emotional, physical pain and emotional disturbance, and does he suffer? The thirst, hunger, pain, anger, lust, greed, attachment, jealousy. These are all the different emotions that arise in an individual. At the level of the body, whatsoever happens at the level of the body and emotions, whatsoever happens to you also happens to an awakened one. The hunger, the thirst, the pain, the anger, the lust, the greed, attachment, and jealousy, all these happens. But the difference between you and the awakened one is the awakened one is not absorbed in it, attached to it. It's not that the negative thoughts do not come to an awakened one. They can come and they do come to an awakened one. But the difference is the awakened one is too much absorbed in his own state of bliss that the gap between the negative thoughts and the positive thoughts is very narrow. Between you, in you, the gap between the negative thoughts and the positive thoughts is very wide. If you want to understand this, stand up by a busy road corner. Busy road corner on at the time when the traffic is flowing, you will see the cars passing. The cars are passing. Sometimes all the lanes have the cars passing. So they are continuously passing. There is no gap between the two. But the difference between, so you don't see the gap between the two cars. But this is simply an example. The thoughts, negative and positive, arise in an individual, and the gap between the negative thought and the positive thought is too much. And in reality, the positive thoughts do not arise at all. Even if a positive thought comes in, the gap is so wide that there seems to be no coordination between the positive and negative thoughts. In an awakened one, the gap between the positive and the negative thought is negligible or almost does not exist. A time comes in with this gap narrowing. A moment comes in when no negative thought comes in. Or before the negative thought comes in, before it is expressed, it is dissolved. It vanishes. This is the truth of awakening. The rest is mere imagination at the level of the mind. Now the question arises, then what is the difference between an awakened one and the one who is not awakened? I have to take one analogy that was presented by Swami Chinmayanand. It is on top there is, as it is said, in the beginning there was a word, and the word was God. Christians say, Hindus say, in the beginning there is an existential sound. Nanak says, Ek Onkar Satnam. There is existential sound. That is the cause of the existence that always is, and that we know as Om or Omkar. And from there, when it begins to interact, it is like the hailstorm. Hailstorm happens at a very high altitude. When it comes and mixes up, so that is the purest water. And when it mixes up with the atmosphere, it gets contaminated. It's big hailstorms, pieces. By the time it comes down to you on earth, it gets partially contaminated and the size becomes very small. So this contamination between the hailstorm and by the time it reaches the earth, the ground level, is known as the atmosphere. But in the Om is the vibration that is constantly happening. It is like the Wi-Fi, the vibration. When you send a message, it is there in whatever name is given to it. It remains there. Through the Wi-Fi connection, it comes to your system, laptop or smartphone or whatever device you have. That device makes it intelligible to you. If there is a virus in your system, or there is a breakdown of the Wi-Fi that brings the message to your device, there is a breakdown, the connection will not, this message will not reach there. And if it has come to your system device and there is malfunctioning or malware or anything, then it cannot be deciphered. So in a spiritual field, the existential sound or vibrations is known as God or Omkar or Om, the existential sound. Then it needs to come to your system, which is body, mind and intellect. BMI, body, mind, intellect. Between the existential sound and the BMI realm, there is a patch of contamination. This is known as vasana, the impressions, the identities. And each person has, number one, different identity, then his bent, the frame of mind differs from that of the other. Because of that, there is a variety, diversity of opinions and all these things. So now, in the realm of the contamination, which is vasana, the impressions, there is objective mind and the subjective mind. These we can define as two rectangles. Between them there is a wide gap. So this wide gap is known as the identity, the contamination, vasana, impressions or whatsoever it is. So the objective and the subjective mind is not operating. It comes through that to the body, mind and intellect level. Body has a way of understanding things by itself. Body understands it one way. Body, mind and intellect. Then body, through the body we get the body perceives, mind feels, intellect thinks. Body perceives, mind feels, intellect thinks. At the level of the body, what does body perceive? What does mind feel? What does intellect think? So body perceives through objects. So first layer is body, mind and intellect. Body perceives, mind feels and intellect thinks. Then what does body perceive? Body perceives objects and beings. The mind feels emotions. Mind feels emotions and intellect thinks. What does it intellect think is thoughts. So body, mind and intellect, between the existential reality, the existential sound, the uncreated sound, and there are impressions, identities, ego sense, a storehouse of the memory, and through that when it filters, it reaches at the level of BMI, body, mind and intellect. Body perceives, mind thinks, intellect. Mind feels, body thinks. Body perceives the objects and beings. Mind feels emotions. Intellect feels. Intellect thinks thoughts. Thoughts are thought. So the gap between an awakened one, between the negative thought and the positive thought, is almost nil. I have told you many times. You can do this experiment. As the meditation begins to deepen in you, you will realize that their meditation becomes like the security guard. Security guard is very alert. Before any intruder can enter your innerness, it is stopped at the beginning. So the moment anger is trying to seep in you, immediately that guard dispels it. Earlier on, you even do not know this is a state of anger coming to you, or jealousy or hatred comes like a normal visitor to you. And when a visitor comes to you, it makes a permanent residence in you. You are welcomed. You welcome these. So, slowly and slowly, as the the guard of meditation comes at the door, it filters. If your there is a process of double filtering certain things. If you want to take out the juice of carrot or the juice of ginger or anything, you use the process of grating it, and then it has a juice and it has the roughage mixed with it. So you use a filter, and through the filter the juice and the roughage are removed. Both have their uses if you know how properly to use these. So that filter, sometimes we use a double filter if more clean substance is needed. So in an awakened one, there is firstly no gap between the negative thoughts and the positive thought. And a time comes when negative thoughts do not arise at all. Or even if they come, they are immediately dispelled from the doorstep. They are not allowed to enter to it because of the awakening, because of the level of consciousness. That the highest layer of consciousness makes you awaken. When consciousness is a 24-hour phenomenon, you have never been away from it. That state is the state of awakening. Every moment, whatsoever you are doing, eating, drinking, sleeping, having sex or anything, you are aware. You know why you are entering into it. Then that state is the state of awakening. Then a question arises, then what is the difference between awakened one and who is not awakened? The difference is very deep. The awakened one is aware of aware of the level of his inner sky. The sky where the existential sound arises is aware of the existential sound. He is not only, you are hearing it somewhere outside, but he has been hearing it deep within. Milarepa, the Tibetan monk, the Buddhist master, he has been, since he got awakened, he has been hearing this existential sound, listening to this existential sound happening deep within. And that sky, the inner sky where this is happening, is called inner sky. But you are unaware of it. You are unaware of this, and in reality there is no, it is far, far away from you. You live in your unconscious mind or subconscious mind, and this unconscious and subconscious mind is so strong, like the shrubs, bushes and shrubs, that it does not allow the plant to grow. When you are planting the grass, lawn grass, there is many weeds all around. So it happens that the weeds grow so fast that they do not allow the real tough grass to grow. Much effort is needed to it. You live in your unconscious and subconscious mind, through that mind, and it is so strong that it does not allow the conscious mind to prosper. It is like all the windows and the doors are closed. The sunlight cannot reach the darkest corner of your being, of your inner sky. It cannot reach there. And slowly it becomes almost impossible. An awakened one is aware of his conscious mind, which becomes the inner horizon. In human form, he knows that in human form he is absolute consciousness. There are limitations of the body and mind. Thoughts will arise, but the inner sky is so developed that unconsciousness cannot prosper, cannot have its say in any way. Every thought, every decision evolves out of the conscious mind. Every decision, every thought arises out of his conscious mind. Beyond the body, mind and intellect, he dwells in the realm of consciousness, his awakening 24 hours. 24 hours he is absorbed in that state, in that consciousness which is beyond the limitations. Body has its limitations, mind has its limitations, intellect has its limitations. In an ascending order, body, mind and intellect. The flight of the body is less, mind is somewhat more at a higher altitude, higher level. That of intellect is even at a higher level. But he dwells in a state beyond the body, mind and intellect. I have explained. Body feels, body perceives, mind feels, intellect thinks and what body perceives through the objects and beings, mind feels through emotions, positive emotions, negative emotions, neutral emotions at times. Neutral emotion means you are not involved in it. The doctor's concern, a surgeon's concern is the welfare of the patient. He is not connected in any way emotionally. Beyond the emotions, he performs the surgery. Once a seeker questioned Sheikh Raghuvar Dayal Chachaji that he feels distraction like anybody else while he is doing his prayers or in meditation. Chachaji responded in his own humorous way. He said, I also feel distracted. Distracted? Yes. You feel distracted when you are doing the prayers and meditation. I feel distracted because when you are going into meditation or prayers, the thoughts of the body, thoughts of the mind, and all these intruders keep on coming, peeping from all sides. The same thing happens with me when I am involved in the worldly things for the sustenance of the body, mind, and intellect. The thoughts of the prayer, consciousness keeps on surfacing. You feel distracted during the prayers and meditation. I feel distracted in the performance of the worldly duties. Once it happened, there was an accident. In the accident, there was a fracture in his hand and his feet. The doctor said that normally in certain things, when they realize that a very hairline fracture is there, if it can remain in a particular position that fixes on its own, it does not require plaster or anything. So what it is done, a flat strips of wood are put on the elbow so that the elbow remains straight. Like if you have to keep your elbow like this straight, like it always bends, so then the fracture will get fixed. So we have to keep the strips on top and bottom so the hands will not shake. So it is tied up. So you cannot move, bend your elbow or wrist or anything. So Chachaji asked the physician, the surgeon, how long this has to be kept in that position. He said if that can remain in that position 8 to 10 hours, then it will fix. So he said, okay, you don't need to do that. This elbow and the hand will, so what they do, they raise your feet and tie it up with something there so it remains suspended in the air. So it remains straight. Like when you are doing the exercises and lifting up the legs, you can keep it for a certain moments depending on your physical strength, and even in that state it does not remain straight. So he said, okay, it will remain, the hand and the feet will remain straight for the required time that you want, and when your time is finished, you will let me know. I will arrange it. So his hand and feet remain more than 8 to 10 hours in that position without any movement. This is the difference between you and an awakened one. At the physical level, there was pain. When got absorbed in his own ecstasy, then he did not feel the pain. An awakened one, a Buddha, knows that I am totality, I am the sky, but sky protects everything, gives shelter to everything, but nothing of the earth level touches the sky, and nothing could touch it. Everything else is like a smoke. It remains rising up to a certain altitude, but it cannot touch the sky. Does the smoke or anything touch the sky ever? It cannot. It is just like the smoke, cloud of smoke arising. So Buddha sees these things, an awakened one sees these things arising in him like a cloud. He sees all the thoughts and feelings and everything to arise. But he is not absorbed in it. He is not in any way affected by it. But you are unaware of your inner sky. Have you ever seen that sky carefully? Nothing changes in the inner sky. The sky always remains pure and spread like a canopy. And in that sky, many planets, many galaxies continue to revolve. They form, the stars vanish in the black hole. They arise from all of a sudden a new star is born. All of a sudden an existing star is absorbed, is pulled into the dark hole. A thought is pulled into that dark hole, and a new thought emerges from the other side of the tunnel. But the sky remains unaffected in any way. It remains unaffected. There is a vast spread of that sky that has seen many thoughts and emotions arises, but they do not affect the inner sky in any way. Then what is the matter? What is that we call asleep in you? Who is that is asleep, and because of which you feel the pain and suffering and everything? There is one sky. An awakened one is aware of his inner sky. The sky is the spirit of consciousness that has become so vast and expanded to the extent that it has become awakening. You are not aware of this. This absence of the inner sky is known as sleep. This is the illusion. This is world. This expanse of the sky, this consciousness, is your essential nature of which you are unaware. In 1925, there is an incident The king of Kashi, he has to go an operation of appendix. That time the surgery, the medical science was not developed to that extent. So he was to be performed, the surgery would have taken a longer period of time. The doctor said it is important that the surgery has to be performed for saving his life. He said, but I do not want any anesthesia. The doctors were in quandary. How can we perform this surgery without giving the anesthesia? He said, there is no problem. You give me my Bhagavad Gita in my hand, I will start reading it. The moment I am lost into it, you know that I have been under intoxication, the natural intoxication of Bhagavad Gita, the bliss intoxication, then you can perform this surgery. The doctors have no choice. On one hand, life was to be saved, and on the other hand, he said, I have never taken any intoxication in my life. So whether it is anesthesia or anything, that not. And that was the only operation performed in 1925 on appendix without the anesthesia. And it's afterwards the doctor asked, did you feel the pain? He said, no. The moment I was lost into my state of bliss through the Bhagavad Gita, the pain was not felt. This is the state of an awakened one. And the difference between you and the awakened one is this. Only this much for this morning. Until tomorrow, take care and do have a pleasant day.